800-535-7789. 800-535-7789. 800-535-7789. That's 800-535-7789.
Hello and welcome to Fifth Street Sports on a Tuesday. People watching are going to notice that Frank is not in any of the chairs. He is licking his wounds from his Oakland Raider bet last night, and instead we have a guest on the show, Bryan Leonard from Wager Talk and Bryan Leonard Sports, a longtime friend of mine, and want to welcome you to the show.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry Frank's not here. I did see a guy that resembled him holding a sign on a street corner, but I couldn't make out if that was him or not.
I think I saw that too. I wasn't clear on that.
Yeah. If Frank talked louder, maybe we'd be able to hear him. But no, with the sign, it works pretty well.
We're going to also have Oklahoma Bryan on after the break. I did want to comment. I mentioned it yesterday. Bryan, you're putting up video game numbers for baseball this year. I mean, they're just out of sight. You're up 162% in baseball since April 1st, and I think you're on another 106% run, all-sport run, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's been going great, and when we talk about percentages, basically what we're looking at is if you had a $100,000 bankroll at the beginning of the baseball season, since April 5th, you'd have $262,000 for that $100,000 bankroll. So, yeah, it's been a terrific baseball season. It has been a little bit slower lately. The opportunities aren't there like there were before because we're still getting a lot of the teams fighting for playoff position, but you're getting some real high numbers, and that's what you get into this time of year is trying to find spots to pick those underdogs. The underdogs still win, and there's a lot of lines out there that are really off.
I'd like to also add that there's a lot of people in the industry of selling picks that I know firsthand don't bet the kind of money that you bet. If somebody's following you, you've got your own money behind it, and that's something to know because not everybody is like that. So I just wanted to comment on that. After the break, we're going to be back with Oklahoma Bryan. We're going to be recapping Monday Night Football. We've got a lot on the show. We're going to be getting into baseball handicapping, NFL handicapping. We're going to be talking about the hurricane and maybe an appearance from America's Worst Bettor. We'll be back in just a couple.
And here's today's BRP safety tips. Riding outdoor recreational vehicles can be fun. These safety tips can help make your outdoor experience safe and enjoyable. Enroll in a motorcycle, ATV, snowmobile, or water safety course. Depending on the vehicle, always wear protective gear. Helmets, life jackets, goggles, long-sleeve shirts and pants, and gloves will help keep you incident-free. Always stick to the correct and legal number of people on your outdoor machine. And now a word from BRP.
It's time for the Yellow Tag sales event at your local BRP dealer, where you can save big on new Can-Am off-road vehicles. Can-Am vehicles were made to perform and make the most out of any challenge. And right now, quality costs less, because you can save up to $2,000 on select Can-Am vehicles. Just stop by your local BRP dealer right now before the Yellow Tag sales event is gone. Offer ends September 30th, 2018. Certain conditions may apply. See dealer for details.
Attention business owners. Are you struggling while waiting for your customers to pay on their net 30, 60, or 90-day invoices? Can't get a business loan? Have no equity? Bad credit? Or maybe no credit at all? Then you need to call AmeriFactors right now. AmeriFactors will give you cash for your invoices and there's nothing to pay back. We simply buy your account receivables, and if those clients don't pay on the invoices, we take the loss. We give you funds based on your account receivables, not your credit. And 98% of all applicants are approved. It's that simple. With AmeriFactors, there's no more waiting for your customers to pay. We give you the funds up front, then we wait for your customers to pay us. Fund your business today. Call AmeriFactors right now.
800-847-1183. 800-847-1183. 800-847-1183. That's 800-847-1183.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously...
Hey, Cris, are you there?
Or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1780. 855-325-1780. That's 855-325-1780.
Hello and welcome back to Fifth Street Sports. I'm joined today with Bryan Leonard from Wager Talk, and Oklahoma Bryan will be joining me in just a little bit. We need to wrap up what happened last night in the Monday Night Football. A couple of observations that I noticed. The ratings were down another 4% from last year, which were down 10% from the year before. So we're looking at that steady downward trend. Just an observation there. Super Contest information, if you're interested in that. The Super Contest consensus went 4-1, and the Super Contest Gold consensus went 3-1-1. There are 65 people that are 5-0 after week one. So out of 3,100 people, only 65 were able to put up a goose egg in the right direction, and only one person in the Gold contest was able to do so. I think there's about 111 or 120 people in that, if I'm not mistaken. Another news of note, 7 rookie coaches, and all 7 of them lost. And only one of them actually covered the spread. Any thoughts, Bryan, on any of those rookie coaches that you look to actually do pretty well this year?
It's a tough position being in your first season with a new team, especially early on. And usually you have a week 3 in the preseason, a walkthrough basically is what you're going to do for the regular season, a dress rehearsal. And this year we didn't see it. A lot of the teams decided that they weren't going to risk getting people hurt. And it actually worked out well for me because I was able to get a bet last night. I know the Rams didn't play in the starters all through the preseason. And once that line got up to 6, I was able to catch a 3.5 on the Raiders in the first half. And I'm not a big fan of the Raiders this season, especially with the coach. But at 3.5 against a team who hasn't even played together during the preseason, I thought that was a decent bet, and we were able to get that. And then the true talent turned out in the second half as the Rams blew the Raiders out. And I don't like a lot of things the Raiders are doing. Maybe they could change their mind and stay in Oakland for us.
Well, I'd like to go to Oklahoma Bryan and see what his thoughts were on the 2 games last night. As a Lions fan, boy, I'm watching $26.5 million go down the drain with Stafford. Big disappointment in that game. What are your thoughts on any of the rookie coaches that we mentioned that haven't won yet? Any of them going to that you have any expectations of? And what did you think of the games last night?
Well, I was really interested to see how the Raiders would come out. I think like a lot of us, we're such big fans of Gruden, and I think sometimes we lose sight. It's been so long since he's been in the league. We have a inflated view of how great a coach he really was. I think he's the greatest announcer of his generation, but I'm not sure he's quite as good a coach as we remember him. And I'll tell you what he reminds me of is if you walk into a sports book and you see on one hand, a bunch of kind of, young, nerdy guys with backpacks and laptops, and they've got their own algorithms. And then on the other end of the casino, you see kind of the old timers with the pencil and the legal pad, maybe a calculator and the newspaper. I think Gruden is the coaching version of the guys with the pencils. Sad to say. I think the game is passed them by, and I think it's going to be a long year for the Raiders. And, Bryan Leonard made a great point, though. The first half was a really phenomenal opportunity to jump on a Rams team that hadn't played together through much of the preseason. But I think the second half Raiders is kind of what I expect to see this year. And on the early game, I was absolutely impressed with Darnold and the Jets. If you've been listening to the show, I've been saying throughout the preseason, all summer, I thought the Patriots were overrated, still do. I don't know who that team is that could possibly challenge them. I'd love to see somebody push them. And maybe, the Jets at 12-1 or whatever they went off at, I think that's probably a pretty decent ticket if you're holding that.
Oh, let's not get a little overexcited there after one game. After all, the receivers or the defensive backs were commenting that they already knew the plays that the Lions were going to run. They were stealing the signals. I think that's a pretty good head start for the defense against Detroit. You don't hear that too often. Have you guys heard of anybody else stealing signals in football?
Well, you steal signals all the time. Baseball, football. The only thing is they don't come out and mention it. But it happens. It happens all the time, and that's the Detroit problem. That's something they need to clear up. And they're in a shorter week because they had to play on Monday Night Football. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes from there. But yeah, the teams will take advantage of everything. I mean, go back in baseball, you've got guys forever. Guys used to stand out in the stands with binoculars trying to catch the signals. So if they could cheat and get away with it, they're going to do it.
Well, I mentioned yesterday that I had never seen such a lack of enthusiasm in Detroit coming into the game. They're getting absolutely annihilated at a national level. If they've got anything in the tank, if that team has anything, you've got to imagine that they're going to come. I forget who they're playing. San Francisco this coming week on the road, I think. So they've got to show up for this game if they've got anything in there.
Yeah, that line moved 3 points already. It was 2.5 going into the game. And then they look so bad. How often do you see a team move 3 points off of one team's performance? Line could be a little inflated there, but until Detroit comes out and shows it, that might be a game I'll be sitting on the sideline.
Do you, Bryan? You were all over Buffalo and fading them yesterday. The Lions obviously didn't impress you, and we always talk about how you're never as bad as you look week one. But boy, those teams look bad. Do you have the stomach to take either of them going forward?
No, I'm going to be against Buffalo for a while because I just don't see how they turn this around anytime soon, and not particularly a big fan of Chargers on the road. In fact, I think this Chargers at Buffalo spot has been a bad spot for them in the past. I think this was the jumping off point to a trip to London a few years ago for the Chargers. And just off the top of my head, I don't think that game went particularly well. But one last thing from last night. I really, really enjoy the back-to-back Monday night games. And I wonder, is there anything – I mean, I see the NBA has been using that same format of back-to-back Thursday night games for years, and it's made a lot of really diehard NBA fans out of that product. I just wonder why, with all of the declining numbers in viewership, I wonder why the NFL wouldn't consider making a doubleheader on Monday night, a regular event.
I kind of agree. It was kind of nice to be able to get a full Monday night game in because I usually go to bed before I can finish the Monday night game. So at least I was able to get the whole disaster in. I could not believe the video of the Lions fans. I hate to bring it up, but boy, did it remind me of the Hillary followers on election night. They had the exact same expressions, and I was waiting for tears to start rolling down the Lions fans' faces. It was just, they were pissed. and sad. Another comment that I saw, Nick Bogdanovich of William Hill made a comment that the Saints losing was one of the best results in the history of the NFL for the state of Nevada. So that's a pretty strong comment.
Well, it makes a lot of sense because you had a lot of, you had New England, you had New England, Baltimore, Green Bay, Pittsburgh didn't lose, but also the team you mentioned, the New Orleans Saints, big favorites, and a lot of people just assume the big favorites are going to win, and they do the money line parlay on them. The Saints are a high-scoring team. Anytime you get a team that's a high-scoring team, the public's going to be on them. And you got a Tampa Bay team without their starting quarterback, and nobody gave them any thought. There was probably, coming into the season, I would say Tampa Bay is probably the least talked about team in the NFL, playing one of the highest scoring teams. And, it's not going to work out that way all the time. But, New Orleans was really shocking to lose that game.
Another quick note on that game. Another quick note on that game. Ryan Fitzpatrick had 14.9 yards per pass attempt. That's going to affect the season-long numbers for the stat-based guys. We're going right to break. We're going to be right back. We're going to be talking baseball in just a couple of minutes.
It has been said that everyone has a book in them. But do you have the time or the ability to write your book? Maybe you picked up some skills or had a life experience that you want to pass on in the form of a book to help others. Maybe you want to leave an autobiography for your family. Or maybe you've built a successful business and you want to share your story. At Dorrance Publishing Company, we have professional writers who can help turn your book idea into a finished manuscript quickly and affordably. A Dorrance ghostwriter can provide as much or as little help as you need to complete your book. You'll work directly with your ghostwriter to finish your book faster than you ever could on your own. It's easy to become a published author. Call Dorrance now to learn more. 800-485-6003. 800-485-6003. 800-485-6003. Call right now. That number is 800-485-6003.
If you are age 85 or younger, call to learn more about final expense plans from a licensed agent in the Angel Care Network. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. Are you at risk of leaving loved ones to help pay your debts? A final expense policy for seniors can pay up to $30,000 for funeral and other final expenses. You don't need a medical exam, and you can have lifetime coverage, and the policy cannot be canceled. To receive free information about final expense plans from a licensed agent in the Angel Care Network, call now. You'll also receive information about a free prescription discount card just for calling in. Agents are standing by.
Call 800-508-5774. 800-508-5774. 800-508-5774. Call now. That's 800-508-5774.
If you or someone you love suffers from drug addiction, now is the time to utilize your private health insurance PPO plan. If eligible, receive up to $30,000 or more in substance abuse benefits with low or no out-of-pocket cost. We are the National Treatment Network, the premier drug and alcohol treatment referral service operating 24/7. We help connect you with facilities nationwide that accepts PPO private health insurance for substance abuse. If you have PPO substance abuse coverage and you need immediate admittance to a medical detox or residential rehab treatment center, call us now. Call our live referral helpline today. The call is free. This program is not available to Medicare or Medicaid customers.
Call 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. That's 800-296-1252.
Welcome back to 5th Street Sports. I'm Las Vegas Cris. I'm joined by Oklahoma Bryan on the remote, and sitting to my right is Bryan Leonard from Wager Talk. A good friend of mine. I'm glad that you're on with me. I have to admit, I get burned out. I work every day for 250 days in a row through football and basketball, and I take 3 months right off. I had to cut something off. So I'm not up to date on baseball. And as I mentioned earlier, you're putting up video game numbers with your success rate this year. The one oddity that I do know about baseball, I noticed that Baltimore and Kansas City have fewer wins combined than 3 Major League Baseball teams. That seems insane. I don't ever remember that when I was following baseball. But what's making you so successful this season with baseball?
Well, I've always done my own handicapping in baseball and never used a stat-based service before. But a couple of my buddies, Mark and Mike, run a place called Clear Data Sports. And I buy their baseball package, and basically what they do is they rate every player in Major League Baseball. And what I have to do in the morning is I make put a little check marks next to the games that I like, and then I look at their numbers. And if their numbers agree with me, then I'm able to give out less plays, but with a higher winning percentage. And most of our plays are underdogs anyway, and there's a lot of value in the underdogs. And so I'm able to give out less plays this year, but they're much quality plays, and I have no problem giving out 2-to-1 underdogs. I mean, as long as they got better than 33% chance of winning, you're going to be able to make some money. So a lot of my plays are going to be ugly dogs, but if you're in it for the long haul, that's the way you win.
Yeah, I happened to notice you had some big dogs when I came back from vacation, and I'm like, whoa, and he's winning them. Hey, Brian, how'd you do in Oklahoma? Brian, how'd you do in baseball this year?
Well, we started off relatively horrible this year, which is usually our strongest. Usually we do really well with totals in April and May. This year, I guess the totals were okay, but the sides started off pretty bad. We've picked it up, and I think we're going to end up with a small winning year, but it was disappointing coming off such a big year last year. Hey, I wanted to ask Bryan Leonard, do you release sides exclusively, or do you do a lot of work with totals?
No, I don't do as much with totals. I'll have a few on the season. 95% of my plays are straight, money line wagers. I do a couple, first 5 inning, that kind of thing, but the vast majority are just traditional betting.
Have you noticed Have you noticed a value shift in first half betting or first inning betting?
Well, I did a lot of first inning in the past. I didn't do it this year. It's hard to get good numbers and getting anything down in the first half. It's still one of those problems you're going to have, especially here in Las Vegas. They'll cut you off and get you down to $200 or whatever on the first inning. It's much easier to bet the full game, and you guys are pretty big bettors. You know how that goes. But yeah, it's a little bit harder to get into it. I know one of our buddies does a lot of first 5 inning bets, and he prefers those because he leaves the bullpen out. And I said, well, it depends on what you're looking at. You're always going to pay more. If you're going to play against a team with a bad bullpen, you're going to pay more for the first 5 innings. And is it really worth that extra money you have to pay?
What do you think about that? Okay, Brian.
Well, the game has really changed in the last few years. We see almost the complete game is completely unheard of these days. I think the league leader is 2 complete games this year. So bullpens are becoming more important. And I'm a dog bettor myself. I try to bet mainly dogs. And late in the year now with the expanded rosters, I think that's a really important element in handicapping baseball is knowing exactly the status of each bullpen and trying to anticipate when you think or how many innings you think the starter will go. Also a huge factor in playoff baseball, I think we'll talk about in a little bit. Hey, since you mentioned the Orioles, I don't know if kind of a funny note, this hurricane threatens to cancel all 3 Oriole games this weekend, which could actually save the day for some of the people who bet Orioles over wins this year. They might actually get to push that bet, which is kind of funny considering that might be one of the worst bets anyone's ever made.
Yeah, that's going to be the bad beat of the century there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm assuming they'll change venues. In fact, Vanderbilt is playing this weekend, and they were talking about changing. Not Vanderbilt, another team on the East Coast, and they were talking about changing it and moving it to a place more a neutral site game. So. That's the problem when you're picking. We're doing this on a Tuesday, and there's so many things tied into the weather is going to be such a factor in our handicapping. You've got great lines, for example. There was Ohio game. It was Ohio Virginia was I was thinking of, and I really like Ohio in that game, and I got a good number. And now they might move it, which means they're going to cancel my game.
Right. I had a couple of games in the last couple of years where you've got just a monster number, and they move and they're just playing at a different location, and it's a canceled bet. As Oklahoma Bryan mentioned, if they don't play the 160 games in baseball, the bet's canceled. A lot of people don't realize that. What do you do, Bryan? Oklahoma Bryan, what do you do differently versus playoff and regular season baseball? Do you do anything differently?
Yeah, I think there's some things that are obviously you've got to factor that you're going to have colder temperatures, smaller strike zones, so those impact offense. One great opportunity that exists in postseason baseball is there's a lot more market on overnight lines. So, for example, the Cubs are a great example of a opportunity. During the regular season, you'll never see a Cubs total on a Cubs home game up until 10 o'clock Eastern. The neat thing is when we get to the playoffs, you'll start to see overnight totals on Cubs, which is that's a tremendous opportunity for the bettor if there is a significant wind event and you can jump on it before everyone else. I think trying to be first to the market when there's a prevailing wind, and the winds do pick up in October, especially in the more northerly cities, and trying to grab if you're playing the dog, taking 1.5 runs goes a long way in the postseason if you're getting a fair price. So those are some of the things that we look at.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, in playoff baseball, I look at it totally different. Not different from what he said, but in other things that I take a look at. One thing is the road team and the home team. During the regular season, the home field is a little bit of an advantage because you have teams that don't travel. They don't travel well. In the playoffs, rarely do you get a team that makes it to the playoffs that doesn't win on the road. So the home field advantage doesn't mean nearly as much in the playoffs as it does in the regular season. Plus, a big differential is you're only starting basically 3 starters in the playoffs because you only need 3 guys to go. So a lot of these teams, for example, the Dodgers have so many starters right now. They've got guys pitching in relief. We had one guy close the other day, and he's one of their starters. So the Dodgers are really deep in pitching, but it doesn't help them during the playoffs because they're in a situation where they use their top 3 guys, and then they've got a lot of guys they can go to. So they don't have the dominant 1, 2, 3 starters that some other teams do. So that's something you need to take a look at is, for example, Cleveland's top 3 starters are really good, especially if Bauer comes back, but we'll see how that goes. But you got guys going into the bullpen that normally are not in the bullpen when you're using the 4th and 5th starters. So it strengthens a lot of these bullpens come playoff time.
How much does getting your bets in early matter to you? I had a lunch with somebody that's really sharp in baseball, and he said it's getting much harder to find the value in the morning. It's essentially gone.
Yeah, I get my stats, like I said, from Clear Data Sports, and they send them in the afternoon. So basically, I have them when the new lines come out, and I'm able to bet into those. The problem is my clients aren't able to bet into those. They're tough to find, so I don't release anything until the morning for my clients. So I am taking bad numbers on a lot of these, but they're still winning bets. It's anytime you bet early, whether it's Sunday night overnights in the NFL and college, or if you're betting the overnights in baseball, you're going to get the better numbers. So whoever has their stuff up early, when you're battling a few people as opposed to battling millions come to game day, those are the people that are going to make the most money.
Yeah, that's interesting. Oklahoma Bryan, are you able to get in overnight easily? Are you done betting by the morning?
Yeah, that's funny. That's kind of one of those talk about unwritten rules in sports. There's sort of an unwritten rule among a lot of professional bettors. It's a lot of bettors frown on other guys going to the overnight markets and carrying up numbers. It's kind of I've gotten into a few heated discussions with other players that have, got a hold of my accounts and seen me betting overnight at Pinnacle or Cris or whatever. And, it's I think there's nothing wrong with it, but I understand if you're trying to get down a really large position, you don't have the luxury of firing overnight. And it's definitely an advantage if you know what you want to do the night before and you can act aggressively that night.
You have 10 seconds to tell me your pick for the World Series winner.
Me, I'll say Red Sox.
Bryan Leonard, you have 10 seconds to give me your
pick. I'll take the Houston Astros.
Okay. Well, that's baseball. We're going to be back in just a couple minutes, and meteorologist Oklahoma Bryan's going to be back to discuss even more weather issues affecting various games. A little bit of him already leaked out, and we'll be back with a lot of NFL talk going forward. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
I weighed 329 pounds. I was a heart attack waiting to happen. I got Andro 400. It makes me not so hungry. I started noticing more energy. I noticed my belly was starting to shrink up. I started seeing weight come off. 80-some pounds. I went from 330 to 245. For a 56-year-old guy to lose that much weight, it took something, brother. I feel great. I feel like I was when I was 35 years old.
That was Ruben. Now listen to what Josh says about Andro 400.
Well, I'll tell you, man, that stuff really works. It was insane. I've heard the commercials, for a decade. I was like, I'm just going to try it. My pants are, falling off. It really works. I bought suits last year for my new job, and they're falling off of me. It's insane.
Guys, if you want to lose belly fat, gain energy, strength, and muscle, and look and feel years younger, try Andro 400, the safe, natural, and affordable way to boost your testosterone. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. That's 888-400-0435. andro400.com.
Attention to anyone that's written a book or wants to write a book. The process is not that complicated. Take a first step. Even if you write a page a day, you'll build momentum and your book will become a reality. The hard part is getting it published. That's when you need to call Page Publishing. They've got hundreds and hundreds of thank yous from different new authors, just like you. They make the process of publishing your new book and getting it sold online a simple process. You can learn how simple it is right now by calling for your free Page Publishing New Author Submission Kit. One quick 3-minute phone call, that's all it takes to get free information and learn how you can get your book published. Pick up your phone right now and call us 24 hours a day at this number. 800-603-0885. 800-603-0885. 800-603-0885. That's 800-603-0885.
Do you have Medicare and do you use a CPAP machine? This is a national healthcare alert regarding your CPAP supplies. Using a clean CPAP mask and clean supplies is important to staying healthy. The best way to make sure your CPAP equipment is clean is to get new supplies. If you have Medicare, we have great news. Medicare will pay for you to have new clean supplies every 90 days. We'll even do all the paperwork for you to make sure that there's little to no out-of-pocket cost to you. And you don't even have to leave your home. We provide free in-home delivery. So if you're a CPAP user and you have Medicare, staying healthy with new CPAP equipment is easy. Just make this free phone call right now to get started.
Call the CPAP hotline now. 800-430-4234. 800-430-4234. That's 800-430-4234. Copays and deductibles apply. Supplies are replaced in accordance with Medicare guidelines.
Welcome back to Fifth Street Sports. I'm Las Vegas Cris. I'm joined in studio with Bryan Leonard and via remote Oklahoma Bryan. And we're going to start off with Oklahoma Bryan He's our meteorological expert with my horrible English there, but I like to butcher English every now and then. But he's more gooder than anybody else I know at it, so let's go to him. What's up with the hurricane?
Well, update came out about 2.5 hours ago. The storm's slowed down a little bit. It looks like it's not going to be a factor for that Thursday night Wake Forest Boston College game. Looks like they're going to move that game up an hour or two and probably get that one in. In terms of its path and its impact on sports, it's going to move a little bit westerly once it makes landfall. It's still going to make landfall just above the North Carolina-South Carolina border, but now they have it taking a little bit more westerly course, slowing down slightly. So in terms of the NFL, it looks like the Tennessee Titans game is going to be impacted maybe the most of all of the games. Redskins will certainly be impacted. And the Steelers game yesterday looked like it might have a pretty big impact, maybe not so much with this current model. And the college games, it's really tough because, if you're too close to the path of the hurricane, they're just going to cancel the game. You're trying to find games that are on the outer margins of the hurricane, so you can still get significant wind and rain, but they still play the game. And the games that are impacted, Brian, you mentioned one of them with the Ohio-Virginia game. That total dropped, I think, 3.5 points today. There's a few other games that people know about it. They're betting it. It's not a secret at this point. And that's different. I think, look, it's Tuesday and everyone knows about this. 5 years ago, people would wake up on Thursday and realize that there were storms that were going to be impacting games. So we're all a little bit more savvy in terms of processing news and weather than we used to be. And it's harder to kind of sneak up on these games than it was in the past.
So there really isn't any way to take advantage of it because, as we mentioned yesterday, it's just a little bit too early in the week to take advantage of it. If we get such an unfortunate event coming across, it's going to affect football games.
There are some ways. Yeah.
Go ahead.
There is one. There is some things you can do. Like this storm might not be the best example because all of the computer models agree with. I mean, they're right on top of each other. But like for example, this Virginia game that dropped from 45 or 46 down to 42. Let's say somehow this storm slows down or does something different, and it looks like the weather is going to be relatively decent. Well, everything that goes down has to come back up in terms of totals if the weather's not going to be there. So there are opportunities once it looks like there isn't going to be weather to react. And one of my favorite stories involving weather, there was a storm 2 years ago that caused the UCF. I can't remember who they were playing, but there was a game in Orlando. I want to say it was UCF and East Carolina, but not sure the teams. They canceled the game or they postponed the game. They moved it to another day, and the total had been beaten down so much. It had been beaten down from like 47 down to 42. I might have those numbers wrong, but that sounds about right. When they reposted the game and put it on a different date, they actually put up the total that had been knocked down because of the hurricane. And it was a great opportunity to go over. And those things happen, all it takes is, the least competent guy at the first book to put the number up, screwing that up, and then the whole world copies it.
I think the only people that lose in this equation are the books willing to put up the numbers because they're going to just get taken advantage of on any mistake on this. I want to switch over to Bryan Leonard over here. I want to ask you, what do you like better, the NFL and the NCAA for betting purposes, and how do you attack each, and what do you do differently?
I actually look at them totally differently. The NFL, basically, anybody who follows the NFL could tell you who's the best teams, who's the worst teams, who's important, who's not important. So to me, it's all about the numbers in the NFL. If you got a team, that's catching 3.5 that you think is just as good as the other team, you'll grab the 3.5 points. So when I handicap the NFL, it all comes down to numbers. For example, I talked about the Oakland game last night. I had no interest in playing Oakland in that game until that line continued to go up and up and up, and it never reached the 7 that I know of, but it got to the point where I could get 3.5. And I said, well, getting 3.5 in the first half is definitely something want to take a look at. So what I do for the NFL, it's mostly just trying to get ahead of the market when it comes to key numbers, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10, that kind of thing. College football, I do my power ratings ahead of time, and that gives me an idea of where I think the line is going to go. I think it's very important if you're betting early, you need to have your own power ratings so you could tell where the line's going to go. So if there's a game I'm looking at and I've got the better number on, well, I think it's the better number because it's my number, and everybody thinks their numbers are the best. But if I see a number come out and it's away from my number, I know where that's going to go. So I know what to do. I either play it now or I play it later on, depending on which side I like in that game. And that's the one thing in power ratings you take a look at. It's basically to get you set up for the week. So on Sunday night when they come out with the overnight lines or the weekly lines coming up for college football, I'm ready to hit on those. And then I can go all week long and worry about that later on as to where I'm coming back on the other side, that kind of thing. But it sets you up good for that. And with the bad English there, with the set you up well, actually. It's just something that you do at the beginning of the week, and then the power rating means less as you get into the handicapping as the week goes on. So that may be sometimes, I'll have a game and I'm 3 points off, I don't play it, and there's other games where I write on the number and I do play it based on what I'd read, the things that are happening out there in the market, and the practice reports that you get from reading on the internet.
Do you bother with the power ratings for NFL teams?
Not really. I've got a pretty good idea. You could probably ask off the top of your head and go down each one. Well, this team's 3 points better than that one. It's pretty easy. It's not hard to do. It's basically a numbers game in the NFL, and you know who the good teams are and the bad teams, and you're just trying to get ahead of the market.
Uh-oh. Okay. I just got a notice here. Let me check the tablet here. Oh, we got breaking news. America's worst bettor just came across. After an 0-2 performance last week, we have a pick. Oklahoma Bryan, America's worst bettor, is coming in on Florida State. What do you think about that?
Oh, that sounds like a play from a bad bettor. That sounds. I wonder if he's actually watched Florida State play any this year. I suspect not.
Would you have to? You just look at a stat sheet with them, right?
Boy, I'm not sure they didn't kill Burt Reynolds. In all seriousness.
I'm sorry. What is the line on? What is the line on that game? I don't even know. And who are they playing?
They are a 3.5-point favorite on the road at Syracuse.
Oh,
hey, maybe he's using the do theory because they're due to play well because they sure as hell haven't so far.
The do theory.
Boy, they're horrible. They're horrible, and I actually watched a decent amount of the Samford game, not Stanford, but Samford, this past week, and they could have probably should have lost that game. It's a bad team, and as an FSU grad, I'm glad that Burt Reynolds didn't have to see that one. That would have certainly done him in if the Virginia Tech game didn't.
Maybe it was the games that he watched earlier this season that was his demise.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. By the way, what do you call a cremated Burt Reynolds?
Oh, I don't want to go there.
Smoky Bandit.
Smoky Bandit. That's just bad. We're going to have to put you on a time. You're on a timeout. We're going to go back over to Bryan Leonard here for some.
If you didn't like that joke, you're not going to like any of mine.
One thing I didn't mention is
Dirt Reynolds if he was buried.
Oh, brother, that's a timeout again. One thing we didn't talk about is how you specialize in a conference. Why don't you talk about that? I know that you've done really well in the MAC over the years. Are you still doing well?
I was doing well until last weekend. The reason why I handicapped the MAC is I'm an Akron graduate in 1985. And back then, all the MAC games were circled, which means your big whales, the guys who bet a lot of money, aren't interested in those games because they can't get enough on them. Well, I'm a college student and just graduated from college, and $100 back then was a lot of money. So I could go in and I could bet the MAC games up to, usually places would take $500. And so you could go in and you could play the MAC games and not knowing that the big guys aren't going to waste their money on it. So I was able to get the good lines that the big guys were used to getting on the other teams. So, and now they're on the regular board, so you don't have that kind of advantage. But there's a lot of people that won't bet on a game unless it's on TV. And the only time the MAC is on TV is later on in the year when they're playing Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, that kind of thing. And then there's a lot of people that are all of a sudden interested in the MAC, and they watch the one game that they see on the season, and then they overreact. So the MAC, to me, is just the perfect betting conference because beginning of the season, nobody cares about them because there's other games on TV, and then people tend to overreact to what they saw last. And one of these teams comes out on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and they look terrible. The next time they're on national TV, I just saw them play. They're terrible. I don't want any part of them. That's where we make our money.
Boy,
hey Brian.
Yes.
That brings up one of my favorite topics, betting on the MAC. If you were to line up all of the biggest money line dog upsets in college football, I'm guessing a relatively large number of those would be MAC dogs winning outright.
That's exactly right. I used to have a guy that followed me in the MAC, and I'd give him a 16-point underdog, and I said, okay, they're winning outright. And he wouldn't believe me. And then sure enough, they went out. I said, when you're playing a team from like the Sun Belt or the MAC in one of the lesser conferences, there's not enough consistency. One team will look really great one week, the next week they don't. But if you take a look at like the teams in the SEC, when you've got that talent level, you get consistent results, which is why I like to play. If you're looking to play moneyline underdogs, you do so in Conference USA or whatever it's called now. All these teams that they're playing the smaller conferences. Yep. Yeah, that's the way to play it.
I do want to remind everybody listening that the America's Worst Bettors, obviously, we're supposed to fade that bettor. I don't think I made that clear. So if you're going to fade the America's Worst Bettor, you're going to be on Syracuse. And I'm going to put you on the spot quickly. Do you have any picks that you like, Brian?
Well, actually, I gave one to my clients earlier. I don't think it's going to be affected by the storm, but I like the Notre Dame Vanderbilt game to go under the total. Vanderbilt's defense has been terrific this year. I know they haven't played the offense of Notre Dame, but the Irish have not been overly impressive offensively. Now, sure, they played Michigan, one of the best defenses in college football, but I like the defenses on both these teams. I've had major questions about the offenses on these teams. I believe it was under 45 when I released it, so we're looking to play that game under.
Do you do a lot of totals in the MAC also? Or
if I'm looking for MAC, I'm looking to play the overs unless they're playing a team with a good defense like Northern Illinois.
Okay. I think that Michigan defense is a lot better than people think. We're going to wrap up this segment and come back in just a little bit. I don't know what we're going to share. It's going to be a surprise. We'll be back in just a minute.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from Resort Release, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get rid of their expensive timeshares. Once you've made that decision to get rid of your timeshare for any reason, Resort Release is offering a Better Business Bureau accredited way to legally get rid of your timeshare, guaranteed. We guaranteed to get rid of your timeshare payments permanently. Even if you've tried another company to get rid of your expensive timeshare, call now and see if we can help you. At Resort Release, you don't pay anything until you're ready. If you're ready to learn how to permanently get rid of your costly timeshare, make this complimentary free call right now.
800-598-0539. 800-598-0539. 800-598-0539. That's 800-598-0539. Want to fly somewhere? Looking for cheap flights or cheap tickets? Then call. That's right. Call the low-cost airline travel hotline now for prices so low we can't publish them anywhere. Low Cost Airlines has all kinds of cheap travel deals. Fly domestically and save up to 75%. You can even fly internationally and save even more. Yes, fly anywhere in the world and save a lot of money on your plane tickets. We'll even save you money with cheap travel deals on hotels, rental cars, even complete travel packages. So don't book your tickets until you call us first for the absolute cheapest prices on U.S. and international airline tickets and hotels. Call right now for prices so low they can't be published. Travel experts are here 24/7 to help. 800-754-4531. 800-754-4531. 800-754-4531. That's 800-754-4531.
Hi, Rick Tittle here. You may know me as the sports talk host that can talk about all sports: football, basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, golf, tennis, auto racing, boxing, Olympics, rollerball. But this time I'm here to talk about pain. If you have pain in your knee or your back like I do, then you should know about the Health Alert Hotline. If Medicare is your primary insurance, then you could qualify for a back or knee brace at little or no charge. I have an old injury from my football playing days, and anything that can help take that pain away and make it more manageable, that has my attention. I love the free delivery, and they take care of the paperwork for you. So if you have Medicare and need help for back, ankle, knee, or shoulder pain, please call the Health Alert Hotline at 800-428-1570. That's 800-428-1570. Agents are standing by 24/7, so go ahead and call now. 800-428-1570.
Welcome back to 5th Street Sports. I'm Las Vegas Cris. We're wrapping up the show here. I'm joined with Bryan Leonard from Wager Talk. We had a lot of discussion and had a couple of laughs, but today's an anniversary, a 17-year anniversary, so just want to always put into perspective that what we do for a living, we're lucky to do, and always thinking about the people that have gone through that, and it's always something to be keeping in our heads. And hearts go out to the families that are still dealing with that tragedy 17 years later. I'm sure you'd agree.
I'd agree, and we all sweat our bets, but we don't. Those are not important in life.
We did put Oklahoma Brian in a timeout for his off-color Burt Reynolds joke, so we're not going to come back to him. So what I'd like to ask you is, going back to your specialty baseball, what did you observe or learn, or what tidbit or tidbits can you share about baseball that other people might be flying under the radar a little bit?
Well, I think the Atlanta Braves are flying under the radar. They haven't gotten nearly publicity as what they should have. And, I'll go out on a limb right now and tell you the Atlanta Braves will win next year's, not this year's, next year's World Series. And if you want to go out and bet that now, you could probably get some pretty good numbers on that. But this is a team that they've got so many guys in the minors that are great starters. They've already started bringing them up for the bullpen. This team has got an exciting future, the Atlanta Braves.
They still have Bobby Cox there?
No,
Jones?
Actually, he's finally retired a few years ago. Yeah, they had a lot of success. They had to beat my Indians in the World Series. But, that's hell of a team's future there in Atlanta.
Well, it's been a good show. I appreciate you coming on the air. And a good friend of mine putting up some serious video game numbers over at Wager Talk with baseball. I hope you can. I know you started off a little slow in the football, but we started off 0-11 last year, and we got back to respectability for a period of time. We'll be back tomorrow. Frank will be back after licking his wounds from his Oakland loss last night, and maybe he'll convince me to join him, but I think I'll put him back in this seat tomorrow. Thanks for joining. We'll see you tomorrow.